Welcome to Cisco Center of Excellence at NHC. The course is Routing and Switching 1. The course code is NHOP09 and I am Dr. Reema Sharma, Associate Professor, Department of EC, New Horizon College of Engineering. So today we'll be learning which particular simulation tool we are using in Cisco Lab to design different types of networks. So we are using a packet tracer which is designed by the Cisco. Packet tracer is a flexible software program that allows to experiment with network behavior and build network models. We can design a smaller model, we can also design a bigger model, and we can learn the network behavior using a packet tracer tool. Now, to understand the working of a packet tracer, we have to basically learn about inter-network operating system. How to configure network operating system. Every computer requires an operating system to function, including computer-based network devices such as switches, routers, access points, and firewalls. So any kind of device which we use in a network has an operating system. And these network devices which use an operating system are called network operating system. A network operating system enables device hardware to function and provides an interface for users to interact. So today we'll be learning Cisco Inter-Network Operating System, which consists of learning both devices that connect to the network as well as the devices that connect networks together. So we have end devices such as PCs, printers, etc. Those devices also uses inter-network operating system, and there are devices such as intermediary devices like we have routers and switches in our network. How to configure routers and switches, that also we will be learning. So what is operating system? Actually, if you see, we have three different parts in an operating system. One is hardware, kernel, and the shell. Kernel is the portion of the OS that interacts directly with the computer hardware, and shell is the portion that interfaces with applications and the user. So user directly interact with the shell portion of the operating system. So user interacts with the shell portion using a command line interface or a graphical user interface. So there are differences between command line interface and graphical user interface. In command line interface, user interacts directly with the system in a text-based environment by entering the command. So you have to learn certain commands and you'll be typing those commands to interact with the shell. CLI requires less overhead to operate, and we can have more number of commands are there in CLI mode as compared to GUI. But user needs to have some knowledge of the commands before starting with a CLI mode. We use a keyboard to run CLI mode. But on the other hand, a graphical user interface such as Windows or Apple iOS and or Android allow user to interact with the system using an environment of graphical icons, menus, and windows. It is more user friendly. You have to click on a particular picture, and then you will move to another page, or you'll be able to open the different applications, and it requires less knowledge of the underlying commands. GUI may not always be able to provide all the features available at CLI. So CLI provides us more features as compared to GUI. GUI can crash also, it fails sometimes, and you need to use a mouse for making the selections and run different programs. So we all are using nowadays graphical user interface. It is more user friendly. But in CLI mode, we have to remember some of the commands. In this packet tracer, we'll be practicing more in command line interface. There are different methods with which we can access the CLI environment. First is console. Now, for example, you have bought a device, a switch or a router, and that device is new, and you have to configure that device. For initial configuration of any networking device, we need to go to console access method. We have to use the console access method. When performing an initial configuration, a computer running terminal emulation software is connected to the console port. So that emulation software can be PuTTY. One example I'm giving you, which we'll be using in our lab, that is the PuTTY software. Configuration commands for setting up the switch or router can be entered on the connected computer. So console is one of the access method which we generally use for initial configuration, for performing initial configuration. Initially your device is not connected to the internet, doesn't know anything, so you need a console cable to connect to your device so that you can configure an IP address and you can connect your device to the internet. For initial configuration, we need to use a console access method. Then we have secure shell. SSH is a method for remotely establishing a secure CLI connection through a virtual interface over a network. So if you want to remotely configure your device, you need internet connectivity and you have to remotely connect to your device. You can configure sitting at any place and it will be done in a secure environment, means whatever data you are sending, that will be encrypted. So that will be in encrypted form. It is more secure. Telnet is also the same method for remotely establishing a CLI session through a virtual interface, but this is insecure method because in case of telnet, whatever data you are sending is in plain text, so anybody can hack that data. These are the terminal emulation programs which we can use: PuTTY, Teraterm, Secure CRT, OS X Terminal. So we generally use PuTTY in our labs. So there are, so as we discussed, there are three different access methods: console, secure shell, and telnet. We'll be learning more about all these methods in our lab sessions. Cisco IOS modes of operation. To initially configure a Cisco device, a console connection must be established, as we already saw console access method. After that, we need to navigate through various command modes of IOS CLI. So now we'll be learning what are the different modes of operation which we have to, where we have to type our commands, and by navigating through these different commands we can configure our device. So the different types of modes are user executable mode and privileged executable mode. Coming to user executable mode, this mode allows access to only limited number of basic monitoring commands. You can monitor certain commands. You cannot change anything on your device, but you can monitor your basic commands. If you see here, switch as well as the router default device prompt is switch and with a greater than sign. When you are in user executable mode, if you are configuring a switch, you will see a prompt like this: switch greater than sign and then router greater than sign. Then you have another command mode as privileged executable mode. In this mode, we have more number of commands, more number of features are there. The user can use any monitoring commands here and execute configuration and management commands also. Okay, so in this, this is the prompt for privileged executable mode. One is switch hash, router hash. So whenever you are in privileged executable mode, you will see this particular prompting on your iOS. One is switch hash and router hash. To configure the device, we must enter global configuration mode. So our another mode of configuration is global configuration mode. Whenever you want to do any changes to your device, you need to first move to global configuration mode. All the changes can be done using global configuration mode, which is identified by a prompt that ends with config hash. So if you are configuring a switch, you will see switch config hash. This is global configuration mode where changes can be made to your device. From global configuration mode, the user can enter to two different submodes. One is line configuration mode and another one is interface configuration mode. In line configuration mode, generally we use it for console, SSH and telnet. So whenever we want to configure our remote access, SSH or telnet, we can use line configuration mode. Also, console can be accessed from line configuration mode. Another mode is interface configuration mode. In interface configuration mode, generally we use it for a switch port or a router network interface. So you have different interfaces on your interfaces on your device, those all setting of IP addresses to those interfaces, all that can be done using interface configuration mode. So whenever you have to do any function on your interface, that can be done using interface configuration mode. And you will, when you are in line configuration mode, you will see this prompt, switch config line hash. And whenever we are in interface configuration mode, you will see the prompt as switch config if hash. We'll be seeing all these configuration modes in more details when we'll be actually performing certain commands in these modes. It will be more clear to you. Now, whenever we are doing any configuration, we have to switch between different iOS modes. As I told you, you have a user executable mode, privileged executable mode, global configuration mode, and line configuration mode, and interface configuration mode. We have to navigate from different iOS modes so that we can perform different actions on our device. So from user executable mode, if you want to move to privileged executable mode, you have to write a command enable. From privileged executable mode, if you want to move to user executable mode back, then either you can use disable or you can use exit command for that. Now from privileged executable mode, if you are moving to global configuration mode, you have to write configure terminal. The short form of that is conf t, conf space t, or we can write complete command as configure terminal. After that, from global configuration mode, if you want to go back, we can use exit. If you go back to any iOS modes, then we can use the exit command. Now from global configuration mode, if you want to move to line configuration mode, then you have to type there line console 0. If you are using console, then you can use if you are using console port, you can write console. If you are using virtual terminal, you can use line vty. So for moving from global configuration to line configuration mode, we generally use the command line. Sub configuration mode, to if you want to return to global configuration mode, again you have to use exit command. And from sub configuration mode, if you want to go to privileged executable mode directly, you can use end. And from some sub configuration mode to any other sub configuration mode, you can, if you want to go from global configuration mode to interface configuration mode, you can use interface command as interface, and then whatever interface you are using, fast ethernet, or if you are using gigabit ethernet, or if you are using serial interface, those all interfaces can be taken. Now today we'll be doing this packet tracer activity. Just look at the objectives. Objective of today's lab is verify the default switch configuration, then configure a basic switch configuration, configure a MOTD message of the day banner, and then save the configuration files to NVRAM. So these are basically the basic switch configurations. You have your switch, you want to configure it, you have to provide it a particular IP address, you want to provide a name to your switch, you want to display some messages, you have to you also want to save your configuration, and how you will assign the IP addresses to different interfaces, and how you will assign different passwords to different iOS modes. That all we will be learning in today's lab. So I will open the packet tracer at one side to show you the activities which we are doing. So this is our packet tracer, and here we have our objectives. I am taking it on the other side. These are all our objectives. You will see the packet tracer on the left side. So this is our packet tracer. You just look at this logical window here. Now look at these devices which we have. These are the network devices. We have network devices such as a router. We have a network device which is a switch. We'll be using the switch, and switch generally which we use in our Cisco lab is 2960 series. So we'll be taking 2960 series switch. Router we'll be using is 1941 router. So in our lab we have a hardware of 1941, so we'll be using 1941 router here, and these are PCs and servers and laptops, whatever you want you can choose from here. So these are your end devices which are shown on the screen now, and these are the network devices. We'll be taking it one by one and we'll be configuring our packet tracer activity for today's lab. So today we are doing a basic switch configuration. Take a switch 2960 switch, click on that and click in the logical window over here. This is your logical window. Just click on the device. Now click on this switch device. You will see here physical, config, CLI and attributes. 4 different tabs are there. We are learning today the CLI mode. So we'll go to command line interface and we will press enter here. Now as we read earlier, switch greater than sign prompt, if you see, we are in user executable mode. User executable mode. So if you put here question mark, you will see the different commands which we can use in user executable mode. Connect command we can use, disable command we can just monitor these commands. We cannot do much changes in user executable mode. Now we have to navigate through different modes so that we can do changes to our switch. So first thing, our first objective is verify the default switch configuration. So we just want to see what all configurations are already done on our switch. So for that, we have to first move to privileged executable mode. So you will be typing enable here and you will move to privileged executable mode. You can just write a short form EN and you will move to privileged executable mode. As I told you earlier, switch hash is the prompt which is used for privileged executable mode. Now again, if you put a question mark here, you can see we have more number of commands which we can access in privileged executable mode. Our execution commands are clear, clock, configure, connect, copy, show. Copy and show, these are the commands which we'll be using again and again, and you have to use it in privileged executable mode. We have to be very clear about which mode we can type our particular command so that we can learn it in details. So we have show command here, show running system information. So we have more commands here, many different commands are there which all we can see. Ping command is there, logout command is there, exit is there, enable is there, and so on. So today, for verifying the default switch configuration, we will use a command show running config. So where we will type this command is in the privileged executable mode. So if we type show running config, it will tell you what is the current configuration, how many bytes are there, which version you are using, what is the host name of the name of the switch. By default it is switch. Till now no passwords are set, no service password encryption, nothing much is done. How many interfaces are connected to this switch? Interface fast ethernet 0/1, fast ethernet 0/2. It will tell you about all the interfaces. A switch generally has 16 port switch, it can be 48 ports, it can be 28 ports. So different switches are there. So this particular switch has 24 fast ethernet ports and 2 gigabit ethernet ports are there. The switch we are using in our lab, it has 24 fast ethernet ports and 2 gigabit ethernet ports. These are kind of cables which we use for the speed. Fast ethernet is 100 mbps of speed and gigabit has 1 gbps of speed. It has more speed as compared to fast ethernet. So we'll be using these particular cables when we will go into network design. So these are the interfaces. We have not set any password to this, and the host name for this is switch. This is a previous configuration on this switch. So using show running config, you can verify the default switch configuration. This is our first objective. You have to type this command in privileged executable mode, and once you type show running config, you can see what is the running configuration of this particular computer. Okay, now our second part for this is configure a basic switch configuration. I've already told you verify the default switch configuration. If you look at the PPT part, verify the default switch configuration. You just have to type enable to move to privileged executable mode. Once you are in privileged executable mode, enter the command show running config. As I showed you, show running config. If you type that, it will show you all the interfaces, all the ports on the switch, as well as it will tell you about the switch name. It will tell you certain passwords which are set and what is the configuration of this switch. So our first objective is done. Our second objective for this lab is create a basic switch configuration. So first thing is we have to assign a name to a switch. Whenever we have to do any changes to our switch or any device, we have to move to global configuration mode. Right now, if you know, this prompt says that we are in privileged mode. So we have to move to global configuration mode. For that, we have a command called configure terminal. So we'll be typing here configure terminal, and you will see that you have moved to global configuration mode. Switch config hash. This is the prompt for global configuration mode. Now after moving to global configuration mode, here we have to assign a name to a switch. The command for that is hostname, and whatever name you want to specify for this switch. So hostname S1. So we have written configure terminal to move to the global configuration command as I showed you here. So switch config, this is our global configuration mode. Now here to change the name of this switch, I will write the command hostname S1. Now once I type hostname S1, now I can exit from here. If I write show running config here, you can see now the host name is changed to S1. I have changed the name of the switch to S1. Now after that, our next step is to secure access to the console line. To secure access to the console line, access config line mode and set the console password to let me in. Now whenever we have to do any changes, first thing is we have to move to global configuration mode. Now we will see what are the commands for accessing secure access to the console line. That means you are putting a password to your console line, console port. As I told you before also, console access mode is one which we use for initial configuration. So before entering into the switch, before entering into the user mode, you want to put a password. Nobody should enter into your user executable mode um, without knowing the password. So you want to secure your console line. For that, what are the commands? Line console 0. So line configuration mode will be used for secure accessing to the console line. So what we'll do is we'll go to the global configuration mode. We'll type their line console 0, and whatever password we want to set, password here we are using is let me in, and then we will use the login command. Login command is used to activate your saved password settings and then exit. We will see how it can be done practically. So first thing is you have to move to global configuration mode. Right now we are in privileged mode. So we will type conft is the short form for configure terminal. You can just type conft. Now S1 config hash. That means you are in global configuration mode. In global configuration mode, we have to move to line configuration mode. So we will type line, and we are trying to secure access to the console line. So we will write console here, line console. For your first port, the number is 0. So we have only one port. For that, line console 0 number will be used, and we are going to set a password for that. So we'll be writing password let me in is my password. So I'm keeping it same. You can use any password here. The command is password, and then any password you can set for that. And next I have to give login so that I can activate my save password settings. Login. Now once you press enter, I have um, I have set a password for my console line. Now you keep exiting from here, and once you start your entering into your switch, you can see here it is asking me a password. I'll not be able to enter my user executable mode without um, without entering this password, because I have set a password to my console line. I'm securing access to the console line. Nobody should access your device without your permission, so we have to set certain passwords. Our devices, our certain devices in a company should not be accessed by any other person, so we have to set certain passwords. We should know how to set these passwords. So console password we have set, there is a time limit for that, so we will put the password here. Now let me in is my password, and now once I put the password, I can enter into a user executable mode. So when we do the basic switch configuration, the second thing is we have to learn how to set different types of password. This is first password which we have learnt. The next one is verifying the console access, whether it is secured or not. As I shown you here, my console access is secured, because without password it is not allowing me to enter into user executable mode. My password is set properly, right? Now next one is secure privileged mode access. So all of you know this is my user executable mode, and if I want to go to privileged executable mode, I have to type the command enable. I am in privileged executable mode. But now what I want to do is, once anybody types enable, I want to set a password to enter to privileged executable mode. Before entering into privileged executable mode also, one password should be asked here. So to configure that secure privileged mode access, the commands which we'll be using is enable configure terminal to go to global configuration mode. As I mentioned before also, whenever we have to do any changes to our device, we have to move to global configuration mode. So I have to move to global configuration mode, and after that I have to write the command enable password, and whatever password we want to give, maybe Cisco or whatever password we want to set, password can change. Our command is enable password to secure our privileged mode access, right? So if we write this command enable password Cisco, what will happen is, after you type enable, it will not directly move to privileged mode, it will keep asking you the password. Okay, so we will set this password. Now what we have to do is, we have to go to global configuration mode, writing conft or configure terminal, complete command also you can write. After moving to global configuration mode, I have to type enable password, enable password, and then I am typing Cisco. So my password is Cisco here, enable password Cisco. So after that you have to just exit from here and start from the beginning. First it is asking you your console line password. So my console line password was let me in. If I type let me in, it will go to my user mode, user executable mode. Now here if I type enable, I should be able to move to privileged mode, but I have set a password, so it should ask me a password. It is asking me another password. Now that password is Cisco for me, because I have just set a password, enable password Cisco. So if I type Cisco here, I am able to move to privileged executable mode. So I have set two passwords now. One is for console line, which was here before moving to user executable mode. It is asking me a password. Then I have again set another password, second password, for entering into privileged mode. So my second password is Cisco. Once we type both the passwords, we will be able to navigate to different modes. Now next is verify that privileged mode access is secure. We have verified because our password is working very well. We have to just exit through all the modes, go back and start from the beginning. It will keep asking you passwords. So that means our passwords are completely set. Now next one is configure an encrypted password to secure access to privileged mode. Now what happens is if we type show running config here, show running config. If we type here show running config, I can see that enable password Cisco. Host name is S1. We have changed our name to S1. Enable password Cisco. I can see my password here, Cisco. Anybody can read this password. So I don't want it in plain text. I want this to be in secure or encrypted form. So for that, what I have to do is I have to set another password which is secure, right? For that, again, you have to move to global configuration mode and write the command enable secret. And this is my password. It's a secret, right? Previously, we have set a password by using the command enable password. Now, if you want to configure an encrypted password, you have to use the command enable secret. Definitely, this is more secure. More security can be added using enable secret password instead of enable password. So to again configure that, we have to move to global configuration mode by writing conf t, and then we have to type enable secret, it's a secret. Enable secret, it's a secret. It's a secret is password. You can give Cisco, you can give NHCA, or you can give ECA department, or you can give any password here. Enable secret is the command which we have to use to set a encrypted password to secure your privileged mode. So enable secret, it's a secret. If you type, then you can see that if you go to again show running config, I'll show you the difference now. Here you can see now my enable secret password is encrypted. I cannot read my password, but if you write enable password, you can see what password you have set. So this is more secure. Enable secret command, if you use, your password will be more secure. Now if you want to check this, what you have to do is you have to exit, go back from the beginning, and my console password. First I have to set console password. My console password is let me in. Again it is asking me another password which is your privileged mode password. Now here if you give your enable password and you have set a enable secret password also, it will not work with enable password. If you type here Cisco, it will again keep asking you password. Because you have set a secret password, you have to give that secret password. So my secret password is it's a secret. So if I type that, I'll be able to move to privileged mode. So this is about creating a basic switch where we have now we have seen that how we can configure any encrypted password, how we can secure our console line, how we can secure our privileged mode also. Now after that, after setting up an enable secret password, we can again see the show running config file as I have shown you, and our password was encrypted, right? Now coming to encrypt the enable and console passwords. Now in general, whatever passwords you have set, if you want to encrypt that, for example, we were able to see the Cisco password. If you want to encrypt that password, we have a command called service password encryption. We have to use the command service password encryption. So again we have to go to global configuration mode, config T, and once you are in global configuration mode, you have to type the command service password encryption, service password encryption, and exit. Now we have typed this command. If you see show running config, I'll show you now that you will not be able to read the password Cisco. Now your enable secret password is also encrypted, your enable password is also encrypted. So you can use any password, right? So both the passwords are in encrypted form. So we will use service password encryption for encrypting the enable and console passwords, right? Now next, after encrypting the enable and console passwords, another step is to configure a message of the day banner. If you want to display any banner, any message, then you have to use this command banner MOTD. MOTD is message of the day, and you can type any message. This is a secure system authorized access only. Any banner you can just display on that. So we will see how this command works. You have to again go to global configuration mode. So we will be typing config t, and then we'll be typing banner MOTD authorized system. So this is the this is the message which I want to display. Authorized system banner MOTD is message of the day. So just enter here. My banner can be displayed. To check that, again you can exit and go from the starting, and once you enter here you will see authorized system. My banner is displayed here, authorized system, and all my passwords are set correctly. The password here is let me in. So I'll type that password. Again enable. Once I try to go to privileged mode from user mode, again it is asking you a password, and my password is it's a secret. It's a secret. If you type, you will be able to move to privileged mode. So my banner is displayed here, authorized system. The command for that is banner MOTD, and then whatever message you want to display, right? After this, my last part is save configuration files to NVRAM. So whatever files I have configured, whatever passwords I have configured, I want to save it to non-volatile RAM. For that, the command I will be using is copy running config to startup config, right? Because whenever we switch off our device, running config file will not be saved. You have to copy that running config to startup config. So in startup config, all your configuration will be saved. So next time when you are again switching on your device, you will be able to see the startup config file. So what we will do here for that is, and you have to remember that copy command and your show commands are used in the privileged mode. So this command, copy command, has to be used in privileged mode only. So we'll be typing copy running config and then startup config. Okay, you can just type first 2-3 letters and then press the tab, so whole command will come. Copy running, you type just run and press tab, running config will come. Again startup STA or something, you type first 2-3 letters and then press the tab, and you can enter your commands fast. Copy running config to startup config. It is asking destination file name as startup config, so you have to just enter yes. Okay, now if we see the show startup config, you will see that whatever was my running config, everything is copied here. Host name is copied, enable secret password, passwords, all the passwords are also copied. So my configuration is saved using this. So thank you so much. This was for basic switch configuration. I hope all of you understood. To summarize this, in this lab we have learnt like how to set different types of passwords, how to set a console password, how to set a enable password, enable secret password, how to copy your commands, how to set a host name, and how we can navigate from one mode to another. All those things we have seen. Also how to set up a banner, how to set up different passwords. That all we have learnt in this lab. Thank you.